Hello, good evening. Chris Hughes, Rebound here on Upstreamedia's daily YouTube show. Before I start and introduce tonight's guest, just want to apologise for our slight delay in starting. When we were doing the pre-air checks, there's issues with the internet. Rest assured, it wasn't any of our internet. It's a BT issue. We're all with BT and had to rejig all the setup here. I've logged into the router, coming across much better, and hopefully there should be no interference. We should have a seamless show. So that's out of the way. We need to get on the tour tonight. I'm really looking forward to this show. I'm joined by the guys behind the Juice Pod. And a great show. I'm sure a lot of you guys tuning in are well aware of your story. Welcome, Tosin and Justin. I hope you're both well.
Yeah, I'm well. Thank you, Chris. Thank you.
That's all right.
What's that you sipping there, Chris? You got some juice?
Oh, we got some juice.
Some juice, yeah. Juice, yeah, we got juice. I'll see you guys are the Juice Pod Kings. I see if you got,
of course,
pineapple juice. What have you got? I've got a pina colada. So
well. Yeah, we're all drinking the same type of juice.
This wasn't planned. I'm really happy to have you guys on the show. It's great to see players putting content out. Let's see more people having that content out there. So thanks for coming on. Sort of share your stories. I thought maybe we'd start. Maybe people might not know about you. Little brief basketball history of your journey to date.
Ladies first, Tosin.
Right. My name is Unisex, so I will go first. Tosin Oyelese, undersized big man playing for Westminster Warriors, repping right now, if you see it right there. I played some seasons there now, played at Essex Leopards as well. That's been the majority of my senior career. And yeah, to be honest, that's it, man. Just giving back to the game in terms of sharing experiences, giving advice, and, understanding how people are going through everyday life in basketball, really.
So my name's Justin. Started basketball at the age of 15 and then played for a junior team and then moved up the rankings. Went Hackney College where they were quite a dominant team. Then Northumbria University where I got my undergrad. Great experience up there. Obviously had the luxury of training with the Eagles and getting some professional experience there. Came back to London after that, joined Westminster Warriors, then played a few seasons with Essex and then back at Westminster where I play. I don't even know what position you will call what I play. I just play wherever they need me to play. But yeah, that's my playing career. Coaching, I've been coaching for a while as well, since the age of 17, and then I got my own junior team, which I obviously impart my knowledge, and it's just good to give back in just more than one way, I guess.
Definitely, and I think you guys do what you say on the tin. I've been watching I listened to all your episodes. They're really great listens. Anyone who hasn't heard of you guys, obviously we'll plug what you're doing at the end so they'd be more aware of what you do, but I'm sure lots of people listen, read your content. I've really enjoyed how you discussed a broad range of British basketball. I literally just finished this week's one with you guys talk about the ABL and the ABL, and that was really informative, and it's great to see you guys, as you say it yourself, giving back to the league. I was about to say what motivates you to do your journey, but obviously it's explained it there, so you want to give back. What some of the things that you've really enjoyed doing it, but maybe you hadn't thought about before doing it, but once you're doing it, realise, this is really good, I've enjoyed this part, I've enjoyed that part. What's been the most rewarding part for you guys?
Oh, it's me first. The most enjoyable part is obviously learning how to set up this whole kind of podcast journey. I think is unfamiliar territory for both of us. We've never done it before. Obviously, we've had conversation around people, but to put a content out and brand it and market it, it's a different process. And I think I really enjoyed that process of obviously being quite comedic on the show, but as well being serious and talking about serious matters that obviously British basketball players and fans need to hear. So I enjoyed that. What about you, T?
For me, it's really been the reviews. When you put content out there in the open, you never know what you're going to get. And it's been really refreshing, just as juice is, hearing what people have been saying and latching onto that. So, it gives the podcast life, like I always say. And yeah, it's good to see what other people are doing as well. I mean, it's one hand to do a podcast, but it's good, how people are inspired and influenced and what they go and then do, whether it's making content of their own or making a basketball decision. It's good to know.
Definitely. I say you guys are really good at what you're doing, and I'm not surprised about the feedback you get. And I really liked some of the ideas you have from review of the week. And obviously, we sort of touched a bit about there when we thought about pineapple juice. What was the story behind sort of having a juice per each topic, and obviously the name being hashtag the juice pod? What was the story behind that?
Should I tackle that one?
Yeah, you tackle that one first, and then I add my 2 pence.
So we look for something which we like. A story which is unrelated is that, back in 2012 when Justin and I first started playing in D1, we also used to hit up the local Tesco and get some juice. So that's something which we have a connection. Tosin, Justin, these are, different catchphrases and ways that, the brand has an identity. And yeah, I mean, we like juice. Like you saw, man, we didn't plan to bring, a nice little refreshing pineapple juice here. I mean, I don't know if you're in the WhatsApp group of us there, Chris, saying bring pineapple juice, but, here we are.
No, I definitely did have time to mention about refreshments and stuff, but I say when you do these shows, you probably know yourself, it's quite a thirsty business talking for half hour and a half. I tend to get through 2 or 3 drinks. I thought, have you guys on it Saturday night, birthday tomorrow. I don't usually drink. I thought I'd have a little pina colada. I really like
tomorrow?
what you guys... It is.
Happy
I'm
birthday.
31. Thank you, mate. Thank you.
Nice.
It's a bit... Oh, mate, it's mad times, isn't it? And I was about to sort of talk about the mad times. People don't know, I have to say about the show, I've got health conditions, so usually I work in the NHS, but I'm part of this whole government shielding, and sort of, for me, it's been great. And a shout out to Rupert and Upstreamedia for having me on. People who are new to the channel, I'm sure lots of your listeners are flocking to watch us here today. If you like the content, obviously give the page a like and subscribe. Rupert works really hard during the regular season. He streams the Thames Valley Cavalier home games, and obviously he's took this opportunity to get a voice out there for people like myself or CJ or Jack of High Rollers. A lot of varied content. It's really great to have a show where I can talk to guys like yourself about basketball. And for me, it's really changed how I look at promoting basketball. I think guys like yourself inspired me to be better. Obviously, take ideas, shows you had, try and develop what I'm putting out there to be better. And I think for me, it's changed how I thought, because usually I just thought of Rebound as a brand promoting the league, but I feel, especially what's happened in terms of the sad stuff that's going on in America and the race problems that's still going on, I feel like it's duty. And I thought maybe just while I'm here, I'll just quickly plug something I'm trying to do, which I think I really hope will evoke change. So if there's any guys out there who are currently facing racism or problems around it, I really want to give you guys a platform to talk. I'm going to do like a feature where you guys get some stories on. I think for myself being a white person, and there's a lot of white privilege shows on, obviously I'm not always a fan the struggles people go on regardless of race, creed or religion. And I really want to promote that, because I think I definitely have that responsibility, and I'm sure you guys appreciate it too, where you talk about basketball, promote basketball, you've got to promote all aspects, don't we? And I really want to help make some change, and I hope by doing a feature on it will help maybe get people to change. I think one thing I've really learned last 2 weeks is the power of silence, and sometimes when we see something going on, I think it's really important to speak out against it and challenge, because everyone's human, and that science to be really powerful in a negative way for that person to go through that experience. I'm only hoping to change some minds, and obviously maybe get people sort of thinking a bit more how they can improve themselves as a person to sort of help with this challenge. I was wondering, I did mention to you before airs, we had all the technical difficulties, but I wonder what you guys thought about how basketball to be a really good influence to tackle problems such as racism or discrimination, and what you think maybe we should do more as a sport to improve that in terms of more opportunities for people?
I'll start by saying, you want to go first, T?
No, go ahead, man.
I would say obviously basketball and just sports in general is just such a unique thing that could bring different countries together, like something like the Olympics and even like world competitions, such as FIBA World Championship. They're just like uniting all the countries. Countries come display their colors, and it's a beautiful thing to see. And the other countries respecting them, obviously shaking hands after each match. And I don't think there's been any kind of negative press going towards those type of events, and I think that's what sports does, especially in England, where a lot of the demographic of players in London or South are black, and then up north the majority white players. So I think that as well, having the mix and having players play together, I think that's a great thing. And I think something that we could always do together, especially if the national governing body, England Basketball, comes on board, is just do I wouldn't say a protest, but I think we need to acknowledge what's going on and see how we could help our communities in any little way. I think little things like that, like having initiatives, having talks, are always good things to start off with. What about you, Tosin?
That's definitely a good way. That's definitely a good way, in my opinion, to go about things. Something I'll add is that basketball already is or can be already a success in terms of it unites people of all creeds, beliefs, religions, race, etc., etc. And I think it's a beautiful thing seeing that, you know, there's a lot I've learned about other cultures. I mean, I you know, like, for example, Lithuanian guys, I know them from the court now, you know? So it's like you understand another way of life, and about some of it's appreciation, which is definitely there. And I think that's a good thing that tackles erroneous thinking to start with. So that's my piece. I think it's already a lot being done. More can be done, but
Definitely, I think you guys raised some really good points there, and I feel I have a responsibility if I'm promoting basketball to promote more than basketball, and that's definitely on a base level. Before it's major news how I thought about promoting the work you guys do, what other content creators do, because I think on the whole it makes us better having that competition and having people out there spreading the word, and hopefully we can help grow British basketball. And I just want to get that out there. I feel it's really important, but we don't neglect that in terms of maybe the other content we don't talk about today as well. I know you guys addressed it in your show that you just done this week. Obviously, you guys, I messaged some questions, during the week, and obviously the graphic gives the idea, the people watching, an idea what we're going to talk about. I really enjoyed the draft night episode, just as many as the rest of them.
Yeah.
And I thought maybe you'd sort of talk a bit about how you guys sort of came up with the idea. Did you guys sort of discuss who's going to pick who, or did other players like Chuck pick players you don't pick? I'd kind of like to sort of get a bit more into depth of that, because I think it's a really interesting concept that you guys did.
So let me talk a bit in terms of.
Yeah, so I guess Tosin's cut out a bit. So how it all started was we had an idea of picking, like, who do we think are the top players that should move back up to BBL, because after hearing Thames Valley's news and them trying to get back in, well, they're in D3, but they want to go to the BBL. They aspire to be in the BBL. If someone had to pick a homegrown talent or people in the country, D1 is a good place to source some talent. So obviously that's how we saw it. And obviously we've played with the players in the league, so we kind of know everyone's skill level and what attributes they could bring to the BBL. So I think that was a good. And to touch on your point about where some players pick twice, yeah, we had a rule where if someone's picked one player, we couldn't pick that player. So obviously Cameron Hildreth was obviously a franchise kind of player, like he's a young talent, everyone wants to see him. So if someone picked him, we couldn't pick him again, so we had to pick someone else. So I think that's how it went. You got anything to add, T?
I think it was definitely that. I think something else is that every team I played for, we always talk in the minibus about who can play where, what talent they have, and we kind of know who averages the big buckets or who's on the scouting report. So that was definitely a good way to shine some light on the guys that have been doing some work in the league. Now, Chris, I know you and I, we've spoken, and there's a whole lot of guys that we missed out that can play. I mean, no doubt.
Yeah.
Well, even when I look at my list, there's some guys like, wow, would I take this guy over this guy? And it's up for debate. And I'm sure that you have some guys that we should have taken. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, of course. And thanks for the question. I always appreciate you guys asking me questions. So it's just something to think about. Before I start, sort of, what I thought was really interesting when I was listening to it, should guys sort of to bring it back to the audience, say, who would you pick? And for me, I was like, it was hard because they all had equally strong teams. And I think you guys sort of said it in your discussion that maybe the team maybe someone might pick might not be the same one as the one you think would win, because obviously people have vested in the individual players. And I really liked how you sort of said, maybe had two players, they probably would complement each other's game for whatever reason, for not to shoot quite a lot. And it was a really good debate. There's lots of players that you can mention. I think when the NBL made their team of the year, my first thought was, gosh, we could have two or three more. And definitely in yours, different aspects definitely were. For me, my journey as a fan, I feel like I'm moving away from stats more to when I see a player do something that's not so easy to see on stats. So like someone like Elliot Dads who takes the foul, I think that's a really good part of the game, but then maybe he's not valued so much in terms of stats because he does other things to the team. So I'm trying to sort of learn more about that. So my journey is as a fan, not as a player, and obviously different opinions. There was a lot of guys I thought could have gone into it. And I think it's a really great way of saying there's a lot of depth in NBL 1.
Some guys I would have taken up. Some guys I would have taken up would have included Elliot Dads for sure. Justin and I spoke about him. He's, it's not.
We lost.
Have we lost them again?
Apologies, BT Internet's playing this.
BT, I'm going to get a refund this weekend. But go on, Tom.
Am I back?
Yeah, you're back.
Cool. Elliot Dads, Will Ashby, Marto McLemore, I guess Jordan Jackson, Mike Williams from Hemel. All these guys, Greg Napoleon, all these guys could have made a strong roster, So we just chose who we had at the and that's.
I think we lost them again.
So we lost them again. So we just chose players. Well, for me personally, I just chose players that I felt that I could play with, and then we'll probably tear a lot of teams up. And like you said, like the stats don't really show everything, and I think putting certain players in certain positions, you could see that it will be very problematic. So I think that's my thought process on selecting players. I think other people select players of share their experience of playing against them. I know Chuck, he was mainly picking players of share experience of that he's had with players, and obviously seeing the body of work like Richard, he picked him was just because of how hard he works, and obviously he's been playing through the years, and I'll definitely say he's someone that it could be in the BBL. Definitely, he's definitely got the talent and he's got the work ethic, and it just hasn't happened out for him, I guess. But I guess Bradford is a good fit for him. D1 is still a good league for a lot of English talent to shine in. So, yeah.
Definitely. While we got a pause, just want to shout out Kai Walker's message in saying, "Rest Minister." I think he's sort of trying to shout out his team and say hi. I know he was ready for this one.
Yeah, young Skywalker.
That's it. He reminds me of myself when I was a teenager. He might actually be 20 now since the lockdown. Who knows? But
why does he remind you of yourself, Tosin? Why does he remind you of yourself? Because you can't shoot. But go on. Why does he remind you of yourself?
I was definitely able to shoot, and I was young boys trying to get it. He's good on the rebounds as well. He's a bit athletic. Off 1 foot, 2 foot is a bit. That's another story. But yeah, yeah. Upcoming, man, and I heard that he might be heading, so look out for him.
Definitely, and it kind of leads on to what I want to ask next, because when you were discussing it, you come across a really good topic, and I thought, especially you guys look at focusing on British talent, and I was wanting to get your opinions, especially as players. You have a lot more knowledge for myself as being a fan. Who do you feel is like the best British star? Maybe talk about some of the talent, some of the top players that our guards in our league have.
Are you talking British or are you talking?
He said British. He said British.
British
bro.
ones.
Like he
Yeah.
didn't start. He
Got you.
Tosin, he didn't start. He said British. Okay, so I'm gonna start with obviously a player that's been in D1 for I don't know 9 years. I think Bodie's been there. So I'm picking Bodie. I think he's the most all-rounded, and he's very just comfortable. I've seen a lot of British guys have good moments in games, but I think Bodie's been very consistent. And I know a lot of people don't know this, but Bodie has played BBL. I think he played when Capital City were in the BBL. He played a short stint there, so he's got BBL experience. I think he's someone that should be playing BBL, but obviously he's got a career now, and he could only do it at a semi-professional level. So I think he's definitely the best guard in my opinion.
For me, there are two guys. There's Oyelese, who I want to shout out. You know, he's got a lot of passing skill, as well as Prince, who actually plays on the same team. And I'm actually going to give a third because of that. The third is someone who is now playing in the BBL, Jack Hudson. That guy is trouble. He was at Liverpool. I mean, he could pass, defense, tenacity, he could shoot. Kind of controls the game, man. And he's an unsung hero, at least in the South. But, you know, I think everyone knows his name up north, and hell of a player.
Definitely, and I say Liverpool a weaker side when he left, and it really made a difference to their chances. And unfortunately, they'll be MBLD too. But it's nice to see you recognised his season. And I say Bodie's obviously played really well. I say shout out to Dave Owen, the king of stats. I always love looking at his stats, and definitely that's the way I get the exposure to play if I can't necessarily watch him on a game day or NBL Live. And as you mentioned Bodie, he did 300 points. It was 14 points a game. He also added about 4 rebounds, 5.8 assists, 1.6 steals. So definitely, in terms of traditional stats, did well. But obviously, what you said, his contributions in other ways that are more, but aren't stat related. And I'm having you guys on. Love to hear maybe what do you think is like the best contributions outside of stats when you look at a player? I think he's really good. What sort of things you look for?
I say communication with his teammates. I like how he motivates the people around him, how he gets the most out of people around him. I think that's something that never comes up on the stat. And I think call it hockey assist, where he might make that reversal pass, but he don't get the assist because the next person makes that pass. I think those are two attributes that a lot of things that don't come up on stats, and I think that's what people obviously miss out on the stat line. I think those two big points for me. What about you, Tosin?
I'm going to semi-cheat here. This is a stat. The ability to draw a foul is something which people seldom look at on the stat sheet, but that is probably the deadliest. And, you know, if I give you the example of Justin here, who averages, you know, around 17 points a game, a lot of it is from drawing fouls. And, you know, I guess ball's very black and white until someone's in foul trouble, and now it really tests how you're going to play the game now. So
definitely, I think both really good stats. It's a shame. I think it's really hard to sort of get that pass to assist stat going. You know, watch every game to say it's not one, but it's on the FIBA stats. And for me, as I mentioned earlier, sort of drawing the foul players definitely something I looked at. I remember I watched Cameron Hildreth and I heard all the bursts from people who'd been around him. And even though that first Solent Worthing game, it wasn't the sort Worthing wanted. The biggest thing I noticed was he was the most foul player in the whole game. And I thought, wow, for someone at 17, that tells you that the Solent guys were, you know, making sure he wouldn't shoot and say drawing the foul, putting some of the Solent guys in foul trouble as well. So definitely his all-round effects. It's not just limited to stats, but also definitely someone that people want to foul. And I really loved your episode where you talked about him being one of the talents that maybe could go to America. Maybe for people who haven't watched the episode, what makes him such a talent? He's definitely on everyone's radar. Maybe fans don't really appreciate the game as much. Maybe you guys have that deeper understanding of.
I think Worthing.
What hasn't
with
he
me,
done?
I think Yeah, but I think just Worthing is a good setup for him. Really, I think they're a very guard-focused team, and they got a lot of free reins in their style of play. So I think that helps him, obviously, be a bit more creative and get to the basket. Like you said, he shoots very well. I think, yeah, if he was on the other team, I don't know if he would have had the role that he did at Worthing. And I think there's another thing that Chuck mentioned that he trained with a Worthing a season before joining them. So I think that is obviously preps. And I think a lot of D1s and BBL teams need to start encouraging more under 16 players, started training with them. Because look at Cameron, he's been a standout player this year. I don't know. I think Ian Smith got Player of the Year, but Cameron should have been very close to him, I guess, as a standout player.
Definitely, you raised some really good points. We'll also look at stats. There was no player in the league, but got better stats in the points, rebounds, assists, steals, and blocks compared to Cameron. No one was in anywhere near him. But if you took the blocks off, players like you said, Ian Smith, Nick Richards, he was in that class of players. So he definitely is in that sense. Really appreciate what you said. And a few weeks I had the Myerscough head coach on, and they mentioned the same as you guys said, but the ladies head coach, Mike Bernard, who's obviously had a really illustrious career in the game, and he was saying that like when he was 16, 17, 18, he was sitting on the bench. He probably got 50 or 60 games. He might not have got on all of them, but he was on the bench. And I think that's a really important point, and I wish more clubs did, because one thing I thought was that not only are they prepared mentally for the game, having that, seeing what the game's about, obviously they're going to be setting all the team talks, so time's out, so they learn the plays, and also just sort of getting that chemistry, as you mentioned, with Cameron sort of training from the year before. It'd be invaluable practice. I'm not sure why teams don't do it, because probably doesn't cost much to have that player on the bench, but obviously there's probably quite a lot of challenges. I'm sure you guys are probably aware of the challenges there.
Yeah, but I guess a lot of times as well, especially in D1, a lot of teams are either trying to win something or trying to survive. So with that, if you take, let's say you take two juniors, that takes away two other players that you recruit. But I don't think that should be the case. I think like the younger the players get in and the more they're familiar with the league, the better they will be equipped for moving on in their career and obviously playing professional, because that's what we want, a lot of more junior players making it to the professional. Tosin, sorry, I interrupted you, go
on. Just to add on to that, Chris, I'm sure you're familiar with the news that BBL's lost out on $1 million funding over this COVID situation, right?
Yeah.
And that's a big loss for the league. But the truth is what do we now do without that money? Now, I'm not saying $1 million would have gone to the players, but the question is, we need these young veterans. We need guys who are not trying to get the first ticket.
We lost again.
And
he's coming.
Yeah.
Oh.
So carry on.
Sorry, I'll throw it in.
Yeah, sorry.
The longer we neglect the issue will be.
You're Tosin, still talk. Hello?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was saying the longer that we don't use our young talent, the worse it will become. And that's what I feel. I think it's good to work within our means.
Definitely. And say shout out to Angela Sweet, especially. Thanks for the great show, guys. Really appreciate you guys messaging in. If you've got any questions for these two guys, shoot ahead. I'm sure they're happy to answer. But to go to your question about the funding, I did hear about it today. And the £1 million funding could have gone to really good places. I had Selena Convoy, the head of the BBL communications, and I think one thing that's been a real positive for what's going on at the moment is it's challenged the organisation to think more innovatively, and I'm sure they probably could have found a way to use that money. We're in an environment where a lack of funding is nothing new, so for me it's not a great thing to not have it, but I wasn't surprised because of what the situation going on. What it would do to affect the game, I'm not too sure. As I said, I'm not really what doesn't help is that funding could really help negate some of the negatives we're about to appreciate. Because I don't think we're set up ready for clubs to financially viably operate in a post-COVID social shielding situation. I feel like clubs need more digital content. Maybe have like look at what the NBA's done. Have a pass where you to put money towards watching a game. You can also have a Zoom thing where fans chanting for premium content. I'm sure there'll be fans that just want to make that noise. But have content like yourself, maybe do a pre-game show, just to enrich the experience. And I think that's something they are thinking about. I did message that to when they came on the show. But it is a bit worrying with this lack of funding. I'm not sure what's going to happen, how seriously it'll affect BBL clubs out being an inside person.
Yeah, to echo what you're saying there, I think we do need something similar to the match of the day where we have a pre-BBL show where people are talking about the game, talking about the players. I think that will engage more people into the game and have a bit of understanding, because a lot of the people that come to the BBL games are either diehard fans or newbies. You don't really have anyone in between that I come sometimes or don't. You need to educate those people, and I think it would be very engaging maybe to even have guys like me and Tosin that are quite humorous and are knowledgeable about the game, have a pre-game show and keep people engaged. I guess that's something that I'll be interested in doing.
Definitely, and
something to add to that, who are we marketing the BBL to? I mean, as well as Justin and I would love to be at all the games, we still play. So who's going to watch these games on the weekend? And, if we can be the connective fluid that makes it work, then, why not?
Definitely, you raised some really important points. I know I've been speaking to a few people doing similar stuff what we're doing, and there's a lot of interest for people to do a pre-game show, so we just have to watch this space, see what happens. And you raised a really good point a bit about who's watching these games, and for me, that's the whole reason I started Rebound. I stumbled on basketball accidentally. My best friend was saying, come watch Solent. They're a really good team at D2 at the time. They were playing Itch, and they weren't playing at the usual arena. My friend didn't turn up. I ended up watching the whole game, really enjoyed it, caught that bug, but we all have, and obviously the rest is history. But to start doing Rebound, I just felt there wasn't any information out there. Like you said, you had diehard fans or people don't know much about the sport, and I think that's what ourselves and maybe the teams should be doing a bit more, is educating the fans and also putting that content out. So I've really enjoyed having you guys. You do a really good job. So like sometimes you'll talk about a topic, but then you'll circle back around and explain those key words. So I think quite a lot of the audience that aren't players who are actually playing may not understand. So well done with that.
Yeah, thank you. But yeah, right. Well, to touch on what Tosin said about who are we marketing to, I think we need to get those people that don't to make a Saturday plan to come watch a basketball game, like people that don't usually have anything to do. And a lot of teams do play at leisure centers. It's not obviously the best place, but a lot of people go to the gyms. Why can't they spend an hour and a half and come watch a basketball game? How do we get those type of people to come watch games? I think that's what we need to start getting our marketing hats on and figure out how we're going to get those people to come watch. Like, what experience are we giving them to come to the game? Like Hemel, I always say, always have one of the best game day atmospheres, and I guess that's why they get a lot of people coming to their games.
Definitely, I think the effect.
They are sponsored by McDonald's also.
They're definitely loving it, aren't they? So, and they're built a bigger stand this season to build upon their fans and see this year's NBL matchday experience. I do think the event's really important, and I think to many games, a lot of games I do go to, it does seem that the game providers focus on the basketball rather than the event. And it was really interesting to have James Thompson, the director of Teesside, on, and he was saying how even a D3 club, they're attracting 500 fans at a minimum, maybe even 1,000 some games, But they say it's not because of the basketball, because they say the fans know they don't watch basketball. That's the minimum. They're looking at like entertainment, some DJ music. And I think that's definitely something that needs to explore more.
You know something quite interesting? Something quite interesting is that, one, James Thompson found out what they have cooking up there in Teesside. But another thing is that in London, where sport, you know, I know Plymouth Raiders have a very good, a good amount of people come down to the game. But if you find out Plymouth haven't got a local football club, London is like one of the nexus of the world. So we're now in a competition of, you know, taking a girl to watch Justin and I play versus going to the cinema, bowling, and anything else to possibly do. So, you know, it's challenging. It does come with its challenges, and I think little by little we're getting there. Yeah.
Definitely. I say it's a really interesting topic, and I think there's a lot of challenges you sort of touched upon in terms of what else for them to watch. It's a competitive market. Other sports probably have that resources, spread that awareness bit easier, and people probably think, oh, go watch football, go watch another game, or like you say, most people are interested in basketball. Actually, the people who probably watch a different game or actually involved playing. So for me, I think the biggest challenge is attracting new people to the sport, and I wonder how you guys think we'd attract that new person to basketball.
All right, I'll go first. I think we have to create this habit where people want to come to the basketball game, and the best way to create that habit is starting from a young age. I think if you start from the young age, I'm not saying this is the only way, but this is one way I would like to tackle it. If you start from a young age and you tackle the people that play football and you give them another provision to play, because when I was in primary school, football was just always in my face, and obviously I went to football games and stuff like that. Didn't like football, but I enjoyed the experience. But I think if basketball was put in their face at a younger age and they could go to their local team and they could go to a BBL game on a more frequent basis, I guess that would generate more fans, because obviously that's long-term habits that have been created. That now I've seen basketball. I know about basketball. I know who Justin Robertson is. I know who Obi Soko is. I know, you start knowing players around the league, then obviously players are going to start obviously following them, and then obviously the players having a bit more engagement with their fans. I think that's another part as well to gauge more people to the game. Because if you think about it, look at the NBA, like all the NBA players either got a trainer deal. I'm not saying anyone in the BBL needs a trainer deal, but they're a brand. At the end of the day, they're a brand. And then obviously a lot of people follow that brand around. Like when LeBron went to Miami, everyone became a Miami Heat fan. So I think as well, the players need to become a brand. And then secondly, we need to target younger kids. The younger the kids, they're going to bring their friends, they're going to bring their families, they're going to bring other siblings, aunties, nieces, everything else. So that's my take.
I would say game day experience needs to change as well. Hem will do a decent job, as we've said earlier. D3, Teesside Lions do a good job. But the truth is, we don't even know. We're the players, we don't know everyone's set. Play part into, the professionalism and what you're putting your money down for, in terms of, Justin mentioned the branding. Okay, imagine LeBron James ran around without a shirt that said James on the back, then you'd just be a Lakers jersey in that way. So we need to find our own way of, really embedding the fans, giving them a reason to come and watch rather than basketball's being played. I think that's my initial thoughts as well.
I definitely agree with both what you're saying. I know from my own experiences, growing up at school, my PE teacher wasn't at all interested in basketball. We never did basketball. He was interested in badminton. That sort of shielded me towards it being interested in badminton. But also, I grew up in Aylesbury in Buckinghamshire, and the local football team, I went to a good standard, but each week they were coming into school saying, here's 23 kids tickets, and in a way getting people to come and watch them because they've got the free ticket. It's something that's a really good idea too. And I think there's a lot of ways clubs to do more to sort of entice the kids. But again, I think you touched there about the funding. If they had that £1 million, maybe they'd employ more staff to help out, because a lot of clubs worked with shorthand,
Well,
coach doing social
we
media.
we
of
say
course.
that. We say that, but before COVID, let's imagine that the need for £1 million wasn't there. Could we say that the job was, and this is not to criticize anyone's what they're doing for a living, but the truth is, how well embedded British basketball with the culture? I mean, it looks good, us all talking about it. We would type in British basketball into Google. What about the guys down our street that would never even think twice about such a thing? And these are the guys we need as well. So I think it's, I don't want to say more money comes in. I think the accurate allocation of that resource is what would bring around better basketball and better marketability and all the good things that come with that.
Definitely. Justin, do you want to add to that bit at all?
No, I was just going to say, man, you have to make that experience better. Like I said this in a previous podcast. I think there has to be some form of correlation between us and football. I hate to do it, but that's the pinnacle of sports in this country. Football, like, it's one of the biggest revenues, and it's got the best league in the world. Like, we need to have some parallel. So when little Johnny that supports Tottenham comes to a basketball game, he doesn't feel so out of place because he could join in with the chants. He understands the game day atmosphere a bit. I think that type of stuff needs to be more embedded into the basketball culture rather than being Americanized a bit.
Definitely. I think sometimes we have an island mentality, if that's at the club, not really wanting to sort of risk new ideas, but also as a community, not embracing some. Because for me personally, when I research how to make better content, I'm looking at what football people are doing, if that's like the BBC Sport, football, or the NBA, Bleach Report. I always look at that, and I think there are some lessons we can learn from football, because it is doing really well in this country. It's got the media, it's got the money, got a lot of fans. Definitely lessons to be learned. And I appreciate you guys covered a lot of this in your culture video. So I've sort of wanted to bring a bit back around to all the players, a bit more on the court, to say we never really want to be too critical, because I think we all know that answer. And I think you mentioned it a bit earlier, you were saying about Cameron Hildreth, and he did really well working for many different factors. And I really enjoyed what you're saying, made me think a bit more. I was wondering, what do you think how he would have got on if you say another top 6 club? Would there be a club you think, he wouldn't have got on too well at, or another club maybe he would have benefited more being a part of?
I'm going to go through the top 6 clubs in the league, and I'll say how he fared up. Solent, I think he would have had a decent role. What's the kid's name? Josh, I can't remember his last name. He's playing in the States. He played when he was under 16s for Solent. I can't remember his name.
Jeremy Sochan.
Yeah, Jeremy Sochan.
Yeah.
I think he would have got a decent amount of minutes like he did. Tenali, that might have been a good situation for him. Hemel, I wouldn't say too much. Derby, I don't know about their style of play for him. Loughborough, I definitely would, but I think he'll be restricted in some ways because obviously they play more systematic basketball, not so much freelance. And I think he would have really benefited being at Reading. I think Reading, we needed someone like him in terms of a young spark. They had a few good young players off the court, but I don't think they were killers like him. Hence the name Killer Cam.
Yeah. For me, I think it's quite similar as well. I think he would have thrived in any team he would have been on. The question is, though, he's had a dream Worthing because, he's obviously had the green light to do what he wants, which is always good when you produce the stats that, that comes with that. But for him, we're imagining that he's going places, which goes back into your other question, Chris. But one thing we could do is paint a good picture where it's worth playing in the UK if you don't go abroad. But for someone like him, we know he's going elsewhere. Where that will be is to be announced. But what I would say is he needs those stats. He's got his stats. He may have been restricted in as to how much he could have shot it like that in other teams.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely, and I'd really like the point you made about Sochan. I don't think, because Sochan, even though he was amazing output for Kestrels that season, say being Kestrels, I watched him play, a lot of his appearance from the bench. And I don't know, there wasn't much difference quality. Obviously, I think maybe one might be a bit better than the other, but I think he had that dream thing worth it. I think maybe one or two other clubs he might got the same amount of minutes, same amount of role. I'd wonder whether at Certain if he would have got the same amount of minutes or whether he would have done. An interesting, I think, and I thought maybe Derby would have maybe given him a lot of minutes. Derby, I've really impressed from the outside in. Quite a young core, playing really sort of defensive basketball and tough to beat, especially this 2020. I think maybe he might have had influence there. I think Reading good shot, definitely an injury to AJ Carr. I definitely think he would have got minutes because they needed that something there. Same with Loughborough when they've lost Rashid. And again, but it's theoretical, so we only wonder. But what you're saying here about we will promote the players to stay in the UK. And for me, I think it's a tricky path because I think we're a long, long way from stopping people wanting to go to America because of the culture, the standard of living, the NBA sort of. I always thought like the gold shiny effect, like the old Panini stickers. I think we're never going to stop people wanting to go to America. It's about making their experience better here. And I think having improving the stuff you said about the fans, I think if we had a better game day experience, better atmosphere at games, more funding, make it more competitive, I think we'll have more players coming, but I don't think we'll necessarily ever stop them going to America. What do you guys think? Because I think that's really tough ways. I don't think we're ever going to stop them want to go to America.
Yeah, I don't think we're ever going to stop anyone going to America because the NBA is the pinnacle of basketball in the world. So everyone wants to go to the NBA, and a lot of people have success going to the NBA if they go through the college route and going to America, understanding the style of play there, going that route. Like there have been quite a few exceptions that have made it through Europe routes, like what's his name? The plays for Dallas. People are going to kill me in the comment section in a second.
Luka Doncic.
Luka Doncic. Luka. See, long day. Yeah. So someone like Luka, but he was standout in the second best league in the world. He got MVP, and obviously now he's thriving in the NBA. There hasn't been a lot of players that have replicated that. I think Porzingis was someone that everyone had high expectations for, and he's like a mediocre NBA player, I would say. Giannis is another great example, but again, he's 6'10". It's a different game when you're a guard. But I guess like if you make it to the States and you could get a Division I scholarship, you're more marketable to play in the top league around Europe rather than just staying in England playing BBL and then you're trying to make that route, I guess.
And this is where I just want to call out some players where a lot of these players here, they act like they don't want to make the NBA. I mean, if you're playing all that working, the goal's the NBA. That is what it is. At least that's what it was for me when I was younger. But the truth is this, right? Until we have somewhere else for them to go, if they don't make the NBA, then we're going to always be at a disadvantage. We talk about all these guys, the Greek freak, Luka Doncic. Go check out where the average Slovenian and Greek guys playing. They're playing top league in their country, and they're doing it pretty young too. There needs to be a page, a landing strip for these guys within our system. And until that happens, we could talk about the culture, but really they're leaving because of the prospect, which is how they choose their EABL or ABL teams.
Definitely, and you touched upon that in your video this week, sort of comparing the two. And I think you made a read comment there, but no matter where you fall, if it's EABL, ABL, it's about making the most of that opportunity. And for me, I think we're not, like we said, not going to stop people wanting to go to the NBA. That's fine. I have no quarrels with that. That's the top thing. It's like how football, people say, I want to play the Premier League, I want to play La Liga. You have those dreams. But I would love to see a place where you say, but like, okay, I'm 20 years old. I know I'm not going to make the NBA. And then a scenario where they think actually the best option for them is to BBL or NBL. And I wonder how you think we could grow the BBL to make it more attractive for players once they realise they can't make it as an NBA player.
I'm going to be very blunt. There needs to be more money in the BBL. There's going to need to be more money in the BBL. I say that because if you think about it, like who wants to play in the BBL if you're not going to make millions of dollars, or you're not even going to make $500,000 playing in the BBL? Like, you're not going to make a life-changing amount of money to affect the people around you. And a lot of people that want to play professional sports, they're like, oh, I want to do this because obviously I want to make life-changing sums. If you're not going to make a life-changing sum, you're not going to have people aspire to be in that league. It's facts at the end of the day. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. That's just me being blunt with it.
But how do we make that step
That's
back?
true.
So I know, because we talked about saying like, oh yes, the league £1 million, but then I think we probably all have privately doubts would they spend it correctly. So, what do you think are those big steps to make it somewhere close to a platform where our best players are playing leagues? So I think that would really attract the youngsters. If they think, oh, that G player, he plays for Newcastle, that G player plays for, you have a whole squad playing in the BBL, you don't get people want to go watch them play in the league. How do we make the steps?
So if we follow Dave Owen's site, we see where movements. Something that rather than the stats, he does an incredible job. But come from, have I frozen?
No, you're good.
You're good.
Cool. So the Dave Owen site is good for seeing where people come from. What it seems is like the BBL is the second option after the NBA, and a lot of the time, it seems like the players that are coming in that are British, that are highly sought after. If you look at a couple of rosters that exist and existed not so long ago, you'll find they've typically played in leagues which are much better than the BBL. What does that sound like? To me, that sounds like something where, I'm trying to recruit LeBron James for the Westminster Warriors. That's what it kind of sounds like. It works well for me, but it could be a disservice for him if it doesn't work out.
But one thing that Tosin... No, but I'm saying, sorry, Tosin, to interrupt you. I think one way that we can market the BBL for people that finish their college degree, what's going on here? That's finished their college degree is obviously playing in top European competitions. I think with that not being an option, people don't have the aspirations to come back to the BBL because they're like, well, it's only a domestic league. We're not playing in no serious European competitions where big money could be won in these competitions. And you're going to be seen for thousands of people,
I would argue,
millions. You'll argue?
I would argue if there's not enough money to run the British Basketball League within Britain, then where's that money going to come from for them to play European competition? Now, I understand you make, but if you haven't got the money, what to do.
But we can't always go back to this. But we can't always go back to this case where it's about the money. It's about the money. Yes, I understand the money is a big part of the league, but we don't have the money. So how are we going to get there? This is what I'm still stuck on it in my head, and I guess the BBL chairmen and everyone else running BBL clubs are in that same situation where like we have to make do what we have.
I'll tell you what to do. You strip the league bare, right? So Lithuania. I was reading an article by Valančiūnas, who is in the NBA, and the way Lithuania work, they haven't got a lot of money. They're a small company invested in themselves, which means that they let their players play for a while. They allow them to thrive and develop in the system. And now, if you look at Lithuania, they have one of the smallest percentages of imports in the world. Where we don't have the money, why are we bringing in these imports? And right now they've named 4 imports, opposed to the 3 that they had before. So what we're really saying is we're really going into overdraft. That's what we're doing. We're going into personnel overdraft. That's how it looks.
Def. Yeah. And I like what you're saying there. And I think for me, it's the scary thing is to rip off the Band-Aid and start again. And I think as much as maybe the reform of the league would be a good idea, the cost of that involved might be quite high. We're talking about Europe, and obviously Leicester Wires tried it, went 0-6, and then didn't do it again because obviously he learned some lessons. You probably need a bigger squad. Obviously, then you need to have more money to pay to have a big squad if you compete on many fronts. It's definitely a tricky question. I don't think any of us have the answer having the steps there, but I'll be interested to see what the league does next in terms of next season.
I think I do. I think I do, but BBL have to pay me if they bring me on board. I charge a consultant's fee, and then we could get it started.
Hear that, BBL?
That's
He's your
it.
man. So I'm glad we covered that. I think we covered some good points. So people listening maybe sort of learn a bit more about Leicester, and obviously talked a bit about the 4 BBL. It has been floating around the news for a while. Maybe some people haven't picked that up. Let's say I really going a bit further in terms of your draft. I really liked how you discussed the players. You talked a bit about the matchups. There's some really good debates about it. And for me, watching NBL live, looking at the stats, watched a few games back from the NBL channel, one of the players that really excited me this season, I thought he was a really good player to watch, really excited to watch, led his team, was TJ Henderson from Leicester. And I was wondering what made you think of this question, because I know you picked him, and I love that team, and I think that was a team I would have, but it wouldn't necessarily win it, because I think the point made was that maybe TJ and Taylor their games would complement each other. I wonder what team do you think he would have slotted in quite nicely to? So I think there are a few teams in the NBA would have made a good impact on.
Yeah,
Westminster Warriors.
He might have saved us from getting relegated. I think TJ Henderson, I think he had to do a lot of heavy lifting for the Leicester Warriors. And I think a team like Derby, where they got a lot of scoring potential around, I think he would have done really well there. I think Reading needed someone of his defensive abilities. I think the smart guy, he impressed me this season. I remember the first time we played him and we kept him to like 12 points. Then the second time he was just so crafty, and I think he learned from that experience. And I could see I think like being a scorer myself, I understand that when you have to do a lot of the scoring yourself, it tires you out and you can't do as much as you would want to do all the time, unless you're like a superstar. But I feel like if he was on a different roster where he didn't have to do so much scoring, I think he will be a better defensive player. And I think he could be a really good point guard where he'll get his assist up. He only averaged 3 assists. I think he would have averaged a bit more if he could create for others and he wouldn't have to do that heavy lifting. But I guess he's trying to get his stats so he could build up and move on, I guess. So I think definitely Derby or Reading would have benefited from a player like him.
I would say he came to get the stats, so he would have definitely done well at any squad, being the league leader in points. It would have been great if we, of course, I would say as well, he could have thrived reasonably well at Hemel as well, because Hemel kind of got they do have a system, but it kind of got everyone can get a bucket. So it's a good it's a good situation for them to be in. And yeah, I'm trying to think what team he would be better suited at. You know what? Bradford. He would have been very good at Bradford, because Bradford kind of have a little in terms of number of personnel. They usually travel 7, and he would have added a lot of depth. And Bradford do a whole lot with the team they have. To be fair, shout out to them.
Definitely, that's the thing that really interests me. Sort of thinking about the what ifs and looking at contributions. I know, like, in the NBA, people look at trades and how a player can impact one team or the other. And I think having you guys on, it's been great to discuss that. I've really enjoyed that aspect, and it's good to see how he would get on. And I kind of want to ask you why you're on. You mentioned that he was a pretty good scorer, and I was like, obviously players play within the systems, the style of play, but who do you think were like the 5 top scorers? Not looking maybe at points per game, but in terms of what they brought to the game, in terms of maybe their skills or stature. Who do you think are like the best scorers in this league this season?
Yo,
So I pick on the spot that
you
one.
name one, I win the other one. Just
You name one. All right, man. Danny Carter got into me last time, but I'm still going to pick myself. I think I'm one of the best scorers in the league. I want to be honest. I'm one of the best scorers. Like Tosin says, I know how to get a foul, and when I played this season, I could see a lot of teams were very fearful when I was on the court. I remember a game against Loughborough, and I can't remember the coach's name. I got in foul trouble, and then he's like, "Oh, relieved." But then when I came back on, he was like scratching his head, and I think a lot of teams are actually like quite struggling against. So I was going to pick myself because I know myself better than anyone else. Go on, Tosin.
Marto Moore. It was 44 points, was it? It was something crazy. He gave us the highest number this season. Crafty guy. That's two. Just number three.
Number three.
I remember that game actually.
Yeah, go on.
Go ahead,
I remember that game because I commentated for Tasmania Cavaliers. Next was at Solent, and you mentioned Martel 44, and I think Taylor got 35. What was that game like? Because obviously, I'm sure one of you all mentioned Taylor, but what made it so their bullets so much on that day? It kind of links about we talk about Strawers, but what was it about their game that made do so on those games? Sorry.
I'm going to start first, Tosin. Neither team played defense, so everyone's just going out to score. That's the first thing.
That's one thing I would say. Is that,
it did look like that from watching the tape.
We played the least defense in the league, us and Thames Valley. So even though they finished second, top second bottom, they had 130 points. We had 100. We were just scoring, man. So
it was fun to watch.
Yeah. My second pick will be Zaire Taylor. I think this season he took a little ease off the gas, but I can see that he can still drop 30 if he wants to. He's just kind of let Cameron do his thing rather than him be selfish. Like he's on the end of his career and Cameron's on the come up of his career. He kind of took a step back, but I think he's one of the most craftiest players. He still does 360 layups on a regular and makes them. Yeah. I think he's got a complete package as a player. So I think he's definitely one of the best scorers in the league.
Some of the guys we've chosen, some of the guys we haven't. I'm going to give someone who probably you're not expecting. Justin will expect this guy. Luke Gosling. You know that guy?
Yeah.
Liverpool, yeah.
Yeah.
He's a problem. He don't. You know what? I don't know. But
he don't look like a basketball player. He doesn't look like a basketball player.
This guy is serious. He gave us like 28, 12, and 7 or something like that, man. He's a problem. Lefty as well. He knows how to put the ball in the hole. What else I'd say?
Yeah, but he gave a lot of other teams problems.
Yeah,
that's what I was saying.
I've started doing the double leaderboard, and I think he joined them late because I don't remember seeing him much at the start of the season, and he was definitely dominant in the doubles, getting the boards and the points, and definitely would have been proud. I'd like to watch more. What was it about him that made him so good? She said he didn't look like a basketball, but obviously he must have had other skills that made him the problem he was.
I think he was a really good slasher. And I think he uses minimal moves to get where he needs to get. And he's just a hustler. He's got a work ethic that he seems like he could go for the whole 40 minutes. So I guess his fitness was quite a high level.
Justin, what's a slasher?
A slasher is someone that obviously gets cuts and stuff like that to the basket, no?
Yeah, it is.
Is that not what a slasher is?
Because, we talk... No, you're right. We talk a lot about checking, say slashing. Because all we know is basketball, I want to make sure that everyone is watching, even if they don't know the term slasher, they're able to get what we're talking about.
It's very good. I say the only negative feedback I ever had was I keep it anonymous, but it was really good feedback. It was negative, but that this person felt that sometimes as a community, I'm myself guilty. And it was talking about what my shows did. I mentioned I can't remember what it was now, but I didn't actually clarify it. And looking back, I'd see how, even though I'm a fan, I had that knowledge, but other people didn't. And I think sometimes we'd all be guilty of knowing our stuff, but then the people we want to entice probably won't know that. So I appreciate you guys clarifying that. So we said Luke Gosling. Who's next?
Luke Gosling. I was really impressed with, I can't remember his last name, but his name was Mike, and he played for Hemel.
Mike Williams. He's a problem, man.
Yeah, he really impressed me. And watching, because obviously you watch other teams' games, and I just seeing what he's doing to other teams, I'm like, bloody hell, he could actually play. I remember the first time we played, and that was his first game, and he seemed a bit rusty, but he was still getting what he needed. And then I think that he had a good game. Who did he have a good game against? He had a good game against one of the top teams in the league. And I was like, this guy could really play. And I think he's got a good career ahead of him just because he's very crafty and knows how to get fouls. shoots very well off the dribble.
Yeah.
Definitely. I'd like to add something there because when I do this, I have to feel a bit guilty. So my day while I'm a sort of Test fan can be quite a passionate fan, chanting. There's a few players I trash talk, and I'm like, I'm not sure they want me on, but I only do because I really respect their game. Sayer and Mike are one of them. I think I remember saying to Mike, but he's been guarded by the best shooter. I definitely tell he was a really good shooter, and his performance that day against the Zone at the home game among the team itself could have been enough to win it. I remember he was doing moves, you probably see it more from what games short. He was doing moves other people weren't doing. He was like doing like 360 spins to go to the hoop. And I was like, whoa. So you don't see that as much in but he definitely had a lot in his locker room. And I was trying to do my part to help the Heshers that game, but he was a really good player. I'm grateful you mentioned because he's definitely someone who I feel has had a really good season. Looking forward to seeing if he comes back. I think he might, but we'll have to wait and see. So we send Mike Williams, who's next? So that's 4, I think. One more.
You know what? Anyone who's been coached by Matt Gaiman, I have to say it, man. It don't matter who it is. You know, you can get a cat, a dog. It don't matter, man. Because you know, we have some guys. We have a player, an ex-teammate who was at Westminster Warriors the season before. He comes back, so the catch was looking like a machine.
Lashley,
you know, so Jonathan, you know, and shout out to him as well. I wouldn't say he's the best scorer on that team. In fact, it's hard to know because they all score. But what they have going down there, it needs to be, you know, I think a drug test is in order.
No, I'm glad you mentioned Jonathan because I can't remember who mentioned to me, but with also his stats, people say it's the league, as you guys know, so that points per game, looks at per game thing. And obviously players like Jonathan who start on the bench might not do necessarily well because obviously they play less minutes than say your Taylor Johnson's, those sort of players. But Jonathan's definitely was up there for someone who played a little minutes, and I think a lot of the fans really appreciate that he was such a clutch player in terms of his buzzer beaters, and he did like 4 all on the big stage. Was he like that with Westminster, or do you think that's something he got the confidence to do under sort of Matt Gaiman?
I definitely think Solent. If I went Solent, I'll probably average 30 points. Because Jonathan, I'm not saying that Jonathan Lashley wasn't a good player. He had a good mid-range, and he's good at drawing fouls. But then when he went to Solent, it seemed like his game elevated to another level. Like he seemed a bit more refined. He wasn't so rushed with taking his shots, I would say, and he was just much more clinical in the style of play. So, yeah, that's what I
We just lost you, Tosin. I thought you'd gone off to try and get yourself a contract at the Cashels there. I thought you ran off on us because you went blank for a second.
I did try to get a contract. I actually just came back with a charger cable. That's all I could find. But
that's fine.
Yeah, man. Jonathan Lashley's
this guy is always cutting out.
I think we had BP problems. We probably got you now. You're looking more like you're on the screen. She froze a little bit. Do you want to carry on?
Yeah.
You're looking normal.
Yeah, I just saw my nostrils on the stream. Yeah, Jonathan Lashley coming along. He's working hard, and it's a pleasure to see how he's playing, man. Particularly how he did against Bristol. I think the whole of the NBL was cheering him on and cheering the whole Kestrels on that day.
No.
That's definitely an NBL highlight of me at Bristol game. I remember that one well. I'm glad you mentioned Matt Gaiman because I think for me being a fan watching the Kestrels team grow a few years and him as a person, he's definitely, lots of people mentioned, but he could be coaching much higher. But from a player, I'd really love to know, sort of like, you obviously in all of him, you say like any player would do 30 points. What is it about what he does at Kestrels that maybe sets him apart from other teams, not as a negative way, but maybe things you guys notice he does more, maybe small plays or attention to detail. What do you guys notice?
I'm going to give you a little story. A few seasons ago, when we got relegated from D1, we played solely in the National Cup. And I had a good game that game. And like Matt Guyman, I was talking smack to obviously the players on the bench, and he just looked at me confused, like, what's going on here? Like, he didn't retaliate. A lot of coaches kind of retaliate when I talk smack to them, and he just was really calm. And then moving fast forward 2 seasons ahead, when we played him at Mobley, he was just sitting there, just like enjoying us warm up, and that kind of threw me off. I never spoke to him after that, but it kind of threw me off. He just seems very calm all the time, and I think that's someone I would like to play for. Like, he's not someone that's so tense and so aggressive. He seems like he's just very calm, and he's always collected, and he's well thought out. I don't know how it is for the players on his team, but that's what I get from the outside in. He's just always calm. He just never really retaliates.
I would say that he thought out for sure. He plans to the end, and something that I say a good does, not to say anyone else isn't a good coach, but they coach to coach themselves. I don't know if you've watched how I could definitely say Justin and I have seen how he coached against us, and we're one side of the spectrum. We had no chance of beating them, but I see that he coached the same way against Bristol.
Mm-hmm.
Or we're tied out there.
Everything that
he's breaking up.
Sorry,
what about now?
That's better.
Well, I was just saying that Matt Guyman kind of coaches players to coach themselves. Where even when he coached against Bristol, it seemed that these guys already had the chat. They knew they knew what their job was to do from the weekend, and their assignments were from the practice in the first place. So when it comes to game day, it speaks volumes that the practice is harder than the games for them.
Yeah, it's like even the Lions game and the Eagles game, I just seen that he's just very calm. It was only one time I seen him get flustered was Newcastle when it went to overtime and he had a little timeout, and I could see he was a bit agitated, but that's the only time I've ever seen him agitate. But I guess you're on the verge of being the first D1 team to ever win a BBL competition, so I guess the nerves would have been high there. But on a regular basis, he's just always cool, calm, and collect.
Definitely, that's definitely something I noticed as a fan. I think watching him coach stopped me more thinking about the tactical side. It definitely feels methodical. I have not the eye to see certain plays. I noticed something if you get someone on the wings to sort of get ready to shoot. It's not a lot of 3-point shooters, but it definitely feels like a chess match when you're watching this game. I wonder if that comes across when you guys are playing or watching those games. You obviously have those observations yourself. Sorry.
Yeah. He's
definitely. Like
he chess and the rest of the league playing chess.
Yeah, it's 100% true because it felt like I was being triple teamed. I remember playing them. It felt like I was being triple teamed, but I wasn't being triple teamed. It's just like the defense tactics is very well, and even against the Lions, they got Peel in foul trouble really quickly. I was like, wow, they really know what they're doing here. Like, it's very smart coach. Like he really analyzes the game and try to pick out people's weak points early. And I think that's someone that you could aspire to be like as a coach.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely. And I'm always really been a fan of Kestrel's, not to be too biased to him, and I got myself a bit in trouble those days. But for me, it wasn't surprising. I noticed when you mentioned about like he would seem to get the top players of each team in that foul trouble quickly, if that's a Rumi or Hildreth, or you mentioned Brandon Peel, Bristol Flyers game. I think lots of them in foul trouble quite early on, but definitely I kind of want to steer away because I appreciate people like, oh gosh, Chris going about Kestrel's again. But there is more to D1, and I'd love your opinion on it, because I know you guys sort of touched on it in your podcast. Everyone give a positive. The BBL and D1 are close, but maybe some of the other teams that are who could compete towards the BBL. I'm not saying the whole league is close, but there's definitely a few franchises close. I wonder what you guys think about that.
I would like to see Thames Valley's chances of how they play. Yeah, because they are out and out scorers.
I would say Hemel for me, because Hemel seemed like they got the full roster. Before they lost Lee, they seemed like they had 1 to 5 position, they had a deep bench, they had the crowd, they had the coach, they had the assistant coach, they had the assistant to the assistant coach. they had a physio, they had the towel boy, they had half times. They just seemed like they had the full package. So I would like to see them stack up in the BBL and obviously put on for Hemel, because Hemel haven't been in the BBL. Well, Hemel, that Milton Keynes area, haven't had a BBL team for many years. So I think it would be good for them to bring back the BBL to that city.
Definitely, and I agree with you, Hemel. Yeah. Maybe add Worth in terms of match day experience, the crowd, and obviously if they build around Hildreth, that could be a really exciting BBL team. And maybe it's 1 or 2, but I think if you're talking about the most likely, I think those 3 are. I'd love to get a player's perspective. You say they got the things from 1 to 5, and I've got a brief sense. You talk about your point guard, your scoring guard, centre, the bigs. Maybe just go a bit more into depth. I know there's probably a few people listening. 1 to 5, what do they mean by that?
1 to 5, obviously. Sorry. They're having the 5 position. The 5 man is close to 7 foot. I think that's the first thing. Yeah. They got a big power forward. Sorry, Tosin, I know you're a centre, but I'm talking about a centre that could bang with the big boys up there. They got a good small forward. I think their point guards are very solid, and they got good shooters around them. Like even Jack Burnell coming off the bench, he's always good for 3 threes, maybe 4 threes straight in a row off the bench. I think they got experienced shooting guard in Will Ashby, experienced point guard. I think they got a lot of pieces. Waleed is another veteran that's been around, played professional overseas and has come back. They got a lot of talent. I think a lot of teams might not do so well in the BBL just because they lack experience. I remember actually one season with Essex, actually, we beat Manchester Giants in the first round of the Cup. And that was quite a big experience for us as well, because obviously I don't think it's been done many times before that. And that's just because Manchester 1 didn't have such a strong team. But as well, we had similar to a complete roster. What would you say, Tosin? I don't think he can hear me.
Is he there? Those are the glory days. I can hear you.
Oh, okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, but I can hear you.
I can hear you guys. Yeah, the glory days for us were definitely beating Manchester Giants. But going back to Hemel, they're a good starting 5, and they're compete with a lot of teams in D1 anyway. So they really have a strong roster. You never quite know who's going to give you 20 on a given day.
Definitely. You touched about your experience with Giants, and I appreciate we've had you on in terms of the Juice Pod and your opinions as basketball boys. I really like to sort of, as we approach the end of the show, maybe talk about your own personal journey in basketball, maybe like a few highlights, and so maybe when you finish your career, you'll look back on it. I really enjoyed being part of that game or that team. What's some of your memories for you guys?
Go on, Tosin. I'll let you go first.
Cool. For me, I guess the highlight of my career in terms of achievement on the court was winning 114 set of guys there. Will Ashby being one of the guys who Justin just mentioned, coached by Youngblood. We had a couple other players who have really held it down over the years, and I think that's the pinnacle of achievement. And I think another good thing for me really is just like the friendships that have been formed from basketball. That's really something that goes a long way. I mean, I know Justin ultimately from basketball, but it's been 15 years and here we are making the Juice Pod, live streaming on YouTube. So that's been a win as well, I would say, for me. Yeah.
It's quite a tough one. Different seasons bring different joys, and you have your ups and downs. I'll always go from the most recent season. I think one of the best games this season for us definitely was when we played Reading at home. I think there was a lot of things going on in the background with the club, and we didn't know if we were going to play another game or not. And I think our player coach, John Jay, he gave one of the best motivational speaks I've ever heard in my life. And I think that game we just went out. We went out and we won that game just off of
steam.
Like just sheer hope, esteem. Like we were just pumped for the game. And I think he was just he was just phenomenal on all cylinders. And then I think from there, like I always like players that I could look at them and they gave me that look back and say like, we're never going to lose this game just because of us. I remember one season at Essex with Albert. We played Westminster, funny enough. It was a very close game. It shouldn't have been close, but it was a very close game. And I remember I got a dunk before, then Tosin got a dunk, and then it was a tied game. And then Albert hit like a crazy 3-pointer to put us up by, I think, 2 or 1 points. And then I had to shut Mike Martin down for the game-winning point. Mike Martin tried to strong-arm me, but I shut him down to get that game-winning point. And for someone that's quite accomplished as him, he's obviously a very established BBL player. And I think that's only his second season out of retirement. And obviously, I got the game-winning stop against him, and I think that was quite a highlight for me, really.
Definitely a good time, man.
Side, few more comments coming through. I'll shout them out in a second. I actually remember that Reading game you're on about. I say most of the time when I hear about games, unfortunately, it's through FEMA Live stats or one of the reasons. But I remember that result. I thought, oh gosh, I felt really good for you guys. I thought that's been a really good moment for you guys. Obviously, we know how the season went. I don't want to dwell on that too much. And you said that your player coach, has a really good motivational message. I was wondering maybe you to sort of go into a bit more depth of what he said and what made that difference that game, because that was a really big result for you guys.
Yeah, I can't remember word for word, but it was on the lines of like, obviously, we don't know if we're going to play here again. Obviously, you lot are all investing your time, your money, and obviously giving up your weekend to be here. It was on the lines of that. And he's like, because you lot invested so much time, like we had a long preseason. I think we started our preseason in August. And funniest thing is, me and John Jay went to Canada to play in the Red Bull 3-on-3 championship, the World Championship. And then we came straight back and then we're in the continued with the preseason. So obviously it was a lot. We felt like we never had a break, really, me and him. And then I looked at him and I was just like, wow, like you kind of got it. If you could kind of bottle that every game and just give me that every game, I think I'll go out and give you a good performance. But I think it's just knowing how to make your guys tick. I think he knew how to make us tick that day, and I think it just happened for us. And it's just it's just a great experience to have.
It just worked out. It was really good. Yeah. I think something which is that goes a long way. Yeah, I think something that goes a long way was one of those motivational Coach Carter type of talks. Like, this could be the last time you play, and we played like we had imports. So the reality is, we're a couple of inner city boys who come to all that we can do, and it was really good because you know what? That's probably the only game I've shot 100% in a game, and maybe that motivational talk is what we needed more of. Who knows?
Oh, I'm glad you put an extra light on. I was about to say we're all sort of going to start this soon, and probably should start wrapping up soon. As much as I've enjoyed having you on, it feels like with the episode I watched it. I always want to go a bit longer than your 38 minutes. I appreciate you kind of want to have that right balance in terms of wanting people to come back, but also covering all the points. We've had a few comments come in. So Angela said, "Great comments. Come back again. Very entertaining, thank you." And also someone called A. Lovelock asked Justin about Toronto, and he also says, "What's up, Juice Brothers?"
What did he say about the last bit?
Yes.
Biscuit said. What was the last bit that Biscuit said?
I see the message. The message says,
"Oh yeah,
it says at Justin Toronto." So I guess when you mentioned Toronto, he said that basically out because he went out with you.
Yeah, so Toronto was a great experience. We're the first UK team to make it to the Red Bull World Finals. We had it wasn't an all-inclusive, but it was a all-expense paid trip to go to Toronto. Most of us were there for a week. We obviously experienced the Canadian culture. Had what's it called? Poutine?
Chips and gravy, man.
Yeah, chips and gravy. Yeah, that was the first time I ever had that. But it was nice. It was a great experience. It was good to obviously represent GB in the first World Championship. I think we need to obviously, as a team, because obviously I play for a summer team called Asphalt Assassins, I think it's good for us to try to aspire to obviously make that again, and then obviously try to go to the ball out 3-on-3, the FIBA officiated championship. So that's something that I really want to look forward to doing. So that's me.
So was that last
Yeah.
summer you went to Toronto? Was
Just
it
to
a
go back to
earlier on? Sorry,
Yeah,
Adam.
2019. Yeah, so this summer just gone, but we're not gonna have it this summer, are we? So it's a shame.
Of course, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Adam Lovelock is our brother, better known as Biscuit. That's the guy who's the Biscuit bro. So good. Thanks for locking in. Angela as well. I see Angela sent a message. Thanks for watching. And Kai, we've already mentioned you. So yeah, that's it, man. And
Yeah,
Chris,
please.
thanks for having us, man. I know it's not the end,
Yeah.
but I thought I'd give you.
It's all right.
Also
I've
doing
been
that.
wanting to have you on for a while. Say big fans to your show. Keep up the good work. Before we go, do you want to plug the channel? I'm sure some people might not be aware of the channel. I know I try to plug it as much as possible. Where can people find you guys?
Sure. Shall I do it? Okay.
Yeah, Tosin, you go.
We run a podcast called The Juice Pod. That's hashtag The Juice Pod if you're on Twitter, Instagram, all those type of things. But it's actually housed in The Baller's Voice. So that's The Baller's on Instagram, Facebook, and of course we're on Spotify. Please check us out on Spotify. Follow, tell a friend, tell a friend. If you like jokes and what we've spoken about here, that would definitely be something that we bring out throughout the show. So yeah, that's The Juice Pod. Enjoy with some juice. That's it.
Easy.
I think that's a really good point to leave on. Everyone have a really great Saturday. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed it. If you're not aware of the Juice Pod, give you a little taste of what they're like. They're a really good show. One of the top stuff out there at the moment. And hope you really enjoyed the chat. We sort of got in a bit depth on things they covered. Also, British basketball news. That's everything from us. Have a lovely evening. Goodbye. And say thank you again for coming on, guys. I'm sure we'll be in contact.
Thanks for having us here.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you.
Stay in contact. Take it easy.
Cheers.
Easy.
Good luck, guys.
Bye.